And welcome to the Unwokable Podcast. I'm your host, Unwokable. Well, it's going down in Oklahoma right now. The trans activists are again going to the Capitol and doing their best, ladies and gentlemen, to try to make it or keep it legal for doctors in the state of Oklahoma to medically harm children in the name of an ideology that seeks to do nothing more than to mutate their bodies and their minds into political automatons. And at one of these protests, one of these trans activists, you can see here in my tweet, came out and said the quiet part out loud. They said the quiet part out loud. See, because what you must understand about this ideology is specific, this aspect of the ideology, something they have said pretty plainly in their academic literature, as James Lindsay will tell you, that this is performative. Okay? But they use different words often to say, celebrate or, you know, uh, give kids the opportunity to be queer and celebrate queerness. But what we're seeing here is a systemic method, a systemic attempt to turn kids, one, away from their families, another into political automatons, into political robots that live only to push a very dangerous anti-American political message. And what we also see here is that trans activists like Black Lives Matter activists, like many other activists in the woke realm, will grab a hold of any identity class that they bifurcate via intersectionality and use that identity class as human shields to push a political agenda. That is what they do. And so what you get is oftentimes people like this coming to the Capitol dressed as, I don't know, Bozo the Clown's version of Dorothy, yelling and screaming about how they must be allowed to let doctors take parts off of children that are perfectly healthy to justify the ideology that undergirds the manipulation that influences children to adopt it in the first place. And what this also does is it saddles these children for the rest of their lives. Saddles these children for the rest of their lives to be on the pharmaceutical behavioral health complex dole for the rest of their entire lives. Now, some of you all have been following my channel, especially a few months ago, know that I broke the OU children's under 16 transition surgery story, which is at least in part a reason why you're seeing this bill that had come up at least twice before this time in history and never made it past committee, coming up now. So listen to this. Listen to this activist say the quiet part out loud.
I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for this part of the community. I feel liberated when I perform gender, when I celebrate gender.
Oh, see, you hear what she said? Let's go back real quick. Listen,
when I perform gender, when I feel liberated when I perform gender, when I celebrate gender.
She said the quiet part out loud. She performs gender and then switches it very quickly, understanding that she just gave up the ghost there. Gender, the way that the left has taken it and grabbed it and used it, is a performance for political purposes. And that has morphed into them using that performance to justify transing kids with surgery that can never be reversed, with therapies and hormones that can never be reversed. This is insane. And the fact that we are giving this any quarter at all shows just how far the left has pushed the Overton window in the direction of insanity, in the direction of pure, unadulterated lunacy. And there has been some drama online between Matt Walsh and some other people about whether it's nice to call these people. I'm with Matt Walsh on this one. And I've criticized Matt Walsh for usually not for calling about being nice to people. But he's 100% right. We have to call this for what it is. It's lunacy. And the minute you say that you must treat it with kindness or empathy, that's when they get you, because they weaponize your empathy against you. That's the whole purpose. You cannot take lunacy and feed it with empathy. You cannot take what you know to be a backward, manipulative, political motive and treat it with empathy. No, you don't get to piss on my head and tell me it's raining. That's not how you deal with this. You deal with this by calling it exactly what it is. An attempt to I'm on YouTube, sorry. An attempt to systemically alter the bodies of children without remorse. And the fact that we have let this go this far, this has been happening in Oklahoma since at least 2017. It was in the Oklahoman. The OU Children's was putting this out there as a service that they offered, which ended up being taxpayer funded since 2017. And the way that they got you to understand, or the way that they got you to swallow this as normal thinking, was by weaponizing your empathy. And so when the very good nature or good faith that you offer people in situations like this is used as the weapon to beat you in the head with, you must stop handing them the weapon. Right? There should be no empathy, no quarter. And I think Matt Walsh made a good point. He made a good point in saying that, look, this is how they beat you. This is how they beat you, is that they were dogged and flipped reality. Took and what made what was true seem evil, and what was evil seem true. That's postmodernism. And so the Oklahoma House and Senate are doing the right thing. I hope that this passes. I'm sure, I think it will. And there was one part of the bill that made me a little nervous when it says that this does not apply to anything, quote, behavioral health. And my message to that is that the behavioral health industrial complex is deeply invested in this ideology. Because trauma, that definition of that word, has been so co-opted. So being trauma informed means being gender informed. So I would just really watch that, because there's a portion of the bill in Oklahoma that says that this does not apply to anything behavioral health. And if you remember, my issue with the ARPA funding was that there was tons of money, about $42 million that was going towards building a 70-bed behavioral health unit at OU Children's. And what that will end up doing is monetizing the quote recovery of these kids that are sent across state lines to Kansas and other areas to get the surgeries by the doctors who still practice there and still believe in this. And then they'll come back to Oklahoma where they live and convalesce at the 70-bed behavioral health unit at OU Children's. This is meant to monetize your kids. With the goal of 10, 20, 30 years from now, making them political automatons that can't procreate, that can't have any joy outside of what the state gives them. Yeah, dysphoria. If you're commenting on Facebook, I can't see your name, but I had a user here say, this used to be a psychological disorder. Yes, dysphoria is still classified as a psychological disorder. It's just that gender dysphoria, that qualifier, has now made it the only form of dysphoria that justifies body life-altering surgery to remedy the discomfort of it. Makes it, but only in this instance, makes it justifiable to remove and add body parts that remove body parts that work and add body parts that will never work. So again, I'm just going to play this for you. I'm not going to keep you too long. I got some stuff. Please like, subscribe, share in the channel. You should watch the internet tonight. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So, but let's just see this whole.
Where I would be if it wasn't for this part of the community. I feel liberated when I perform gender, when I celebrate gender. Let young queer kids celebrate gender.
Let young queer kids perform gender is what she's saying. Let them perform with me. Let them be part of my imagination. Let me make them want to be part of my imagination. Because the minute you do that is the minute you lose your kids. The minute you do that is the minute they have control of them. The minute you do that is the minute that your kids are used to put money in the pockets of people who have no goal other than to profit off of this meat grinder. If you've listened to Dan Carlin, he talks about the meat grinders of history like World War I. This is very much another 21st century meat grinder in history. And it's going to be looked back on with horror as long as we do our job and don't give this ideology any quarter. Don't give this ideology any room to breathe, because it is built on nothing more than an effort to destroy kids, an effort to destroy the family, an effort to destroy people. So that's what I've got. Not a long video, but know what's going on at the Capitol. Call your representatives. Make sure that they vote for this bill to stop this in Oklahoma. Call the governor. Make sure he signs it. Read the bill. Make sure that there's no loopholes in it. If you see a loophole, call your representative. If you see a loophole that I haven't caught, call me and we'll highlight it here. The most important thing is that this stops. And then that we look forward and see how the after effects of it are going to be monetized by your state taxpayer funded university. Don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. All right. Please like, subscribe, share the channel. Thank you for watching. This has been your time. Thank you for sharing it with me. I will see you soon.